Hello everyone, I'm Ashley Woodley. I'm a senior in animal science, and I'm giving a presentation on the effects of governmental controls on the Mustang population. Mustangs came to the Americas in the 1600s by the Spaniards. They roamed the untamed land and helped America become what it is today. Now, however, they are part of a huge ethical and political dilemma. Many Mustangs today still roam the West, but they are no longer free, just wild. Mustangs now have to share their homeland with other wild animals, ranchers, and growing public populations. Not only do Mustangs have that to worry about, but they also have the government trying to save money by decreasing their population. The U.S. government is in control of these animals. They are currently trying to find the best way to decrease the population of the Mustangs by a series of methods: adoption programs, roundups, and different types of contraceptives. When it comes to managing the Mustangs, it is important to consider the effects of the different management systems on the horse's behavior, genetic variation, and the cost it has on the U.S. government. Since 1971, the U.S. Department of the Interior, or more specifically, the Bureau of Land and Management, or BLM, has been in control of the management of the Mustangs that roam the western rangeland. The turning point for Mustangs was when the Wild Free-Roaming Horse and Burros Act came into effect in 1971. This legislation was mainly the result of the work of Wild Horse Annie, or Velma B. Johnston. Velma saw how the Mustangs were being treated in the 1950s. They were being gathered in ruthless ways and slaughtered by ranchers, hunters, and people that called themselves the Mustangers. In 1978, a Public Rangelands Improvement Act now allowed the government to round up these horses with helicopters to better manage the horses and the rangeland that they lived on. According to the BLM, there is an estimate of 40,605 wild horses and burros running free on the government-managed lands. This exceeds the population amount the BLM has set for the Appropriate Management Level, or AML, which is about 26,677 horses and burros. These wild horses and burros once ran on approximately 53.8 million acres, but today the BLM manages them on 31.6 million acres, or otherwise known as 179 subsets, known as herd areas. The major problem for the U.S. government is how to manage these horses without slaughtering them and decreasing their genetic variation that has made the Mustangs part of the American heritage. This table shows the number of horses and burros in each state and describes what the Bureau of Land and Management has set for the maximum AML for that area. Like the other parts of the government, the BLM is also on a budget. The BLM was given approximately $71.8 million for the fiscal year of 2013 to manage the wild horses and burros. Unfortunately, this money is supposed to be enough for the holding facilities, gathers and removals, and adoptions. Each of these programs costs a large amount, and the BLM is seeking other methods of managing the number of Mustangs and burros in the rangelands in the western United States. The BLM has been rounding up or gathering wild horses and burros since 1978 to take inventory of the animals, manage and improve the rangeland, and control the population of the Mustangs. Since there is no known predator for the Mustangs, this enables the Mustangs to have the ability of doubling their herd size every 4 years. This being said, the government rounded up 8,255 animals in the 2012 fiscal year. Approximately 5,000 of those animals remained in holding facilities. As of January 2014, the BLM inventoried 49,591 Mustangs that were being cared for in short-term and long-term corrals or pastures. The cost of these holding facilities is approximately $46.2 million on the BLM. To help reduce the number of horses in the holding facilities, the Bureau of Land and Management holds adoptions throughout the year. This is where people can adopt a Mustang or burro at a minimum cost of $150, and then take care of it for a year in the appropriate facilities. The government can have people come and check to make sure that the animal is being taken care of properly anytime throughout the year. This is because the owner doesn't gain ownership of the Mustang or burro until a year has passed and the government deems the owner worthy of ownership. This program is a great way to help the Mustangs and get the public involved, but unfortunately, it is costly to the BLM. In 2013, the BLM adopted out 2,671 animals, but it cost them $4.8 million to process the adoption and monitor those owners. The BLM wants to keep this program, but they are having trouble justifying keeping it when it costs them so much money. Researchers have agreed, as well as the U.S. public, that the management techniques used by the BLM is neither supplying the animals with good welfare or helping them maintain a positive financial situation. Independent and government researchers have been working on a vaccination contraceptive control to give to mares. They are checking on the efficiency of the vaccine, if it is financially beneficial, and what the effects of making the mares unfertile does to the herd behavior. The vaccination that is currently being used is PZP, or porcine zona pellucida. This vaccine stimulates the production of zona pellucida antibodies in the female animal. These antibodies that the female provide a barrier that will prevent sperm from binding to the surface of the ovum, thus limiting pregnancy. This has been found to reduce the pregnancy in horses. Findings by Ransom and others say that 0 to 19% of a group of treated horses will produce a foal. Fortunately, Ransom and others did note that the fertility vaccine does not affect the ovarian function of female horses that have been treated up to 3 years. However, horses that have been treated longer than 3 years have been found to have a lower ovarian function. This vaccine is most commonly given to mares by a dart gun. Ransom and others stated that the injection site had minimal reactions. These injections need a booster shot to continue into 2 years of infertility. 3-time release pellets fed at 1, 2, and 12 months can be fed to females as a booster in the second year. However, people are concerned that PZP injections may disrupt the social and behavioral structure of the Mustang family groups. Studies have been done by Ransom and others to see how these behaviors of the vaccinated Mustangs have been affected by the PZP vaccine. Normal behaviors have been grouped into 2 categories: maintenance behaviors, which are grooming, standing attentive, comfort, feeding, locomotion, resting, and elimination, and social behaviors, which include harem tending, harem socializing, agonism, submission, reproduction, and herding. Ransom and others found that horses that have been vaccinated with the PZP vaccine have no change in resting and feeding hours compared to females that were not treated. Therefore, the maintenance behavior stayed relatively normal. However, stallion interaction and herding did not remain normal. Females that were vaccinated were herded by the stallion more and also had an increased reproductive behavior, since they came into estrus throughout the year. This behavior was found 54.5% more in vaccinated females than untreated females, and 34.2% of these times were either successful copulation or just mounting of the stallion. This figure shows the distribution of the mare's time spent during the day between body condition with mares treated with PZP to mares that were not treated. Horses are currently taken off or put back on the range depending on population size, as well as the age, sex, and adaptability of the horse. This can make it hard to maintain good genetic variation within the feral Mustang herds. It has been found that removal and contraceptive treatment methods have had an effect on the population dynamics. Gross did a study on the genetic variations depending on infertility controls and removals. He found that infertility treatments reduce population size better than removals and increase the retention of genetic variation within those herds. Since that research is proven, Gross supported the use of infertility treatments because they are a cheaper means of controlling the Mustang population while still maintaining the genetic variations. Gross also recommends that intensive management is needed in controlling the population of the feral horses and controlling the genetic variation. When using contraceptives, we must also be aware of the sex ratio within the Mustang population. Recommendations have been to use the contraceptives to slow the rate of reproduction, but also use removals to maintain a good sex and age ratio within the population. Mustangs are a part of the American heritage, and many believe that they should have the same respect that the bald eagle gets in today's society. Since public is worried that the government is destroying the American Mustang by slaughter and unethical care in the facilities, it is important that research be done on other contraceptive methods in order to control the population of the Mustangs. And that, in the same sense, it is important that the Mustang genetic and behavioral conditions play a role in that research, so that the right management system may be found. This management system will help control the population as well as maintain their genetic variation and normal behaviors, while also decreasing the cost of the Mustangs on the U.S. government. Here's my reference page for further information if you so want. Thank you.